All right, hey, good morning. This is Ann from Lautarlife. I'm so glad that you're here today doing Advent. We're doing day 7, day 8, and day 9. So yesterday we had a great day. We did some wrapping presents yesterday. We did Advent 4, 5, and 6. And then we wrapped some presents, which was great because I had to get that off to West Virginia to my stepmother-in-law and my father-in-law. So we got those all together. I got the package off to Japan for my son Corey and his family. And I hope that it gets there on time. My son said it was the last day yesterday to get it sent before it would be later than Christmas. So I'm hoping I made it. And I hope that they are able to get their gifts for Christmas Day. But keep them in your prayers. They're in Japan. They are phenomenal. I miss them like crazy. Why they've been over there, we have they've had our newest granddaughter, Waylon, and she is, I believe, now 5 or 6 months old, and we have not even got to meet her yet. We've seen her over FaceTime, which has been great. I'm very, very thankful for FaceTime, but it doesn't replace getting to, you know, snuggle her and hug her and play with her on the floor and do all those grandma things that you really enjoy doing. And I miss my son like crazy. We have not seen him. I want to say it's coming up on probably a year. So with this COVID thing, we can't travel back and forth, and they just got new you know, cases where he is. And that this will be over soon so that we can see our grandbaby and see my son. That would be wonderful. And my daughter-in-law, I miss them all. And Maddie, I miss all of my family. But so anyway, and then last night we were able to go out to Jacksonville and we saw lights. They had these beautiful lights. It's out near the town center. I forgot the name of it. It was something shrine. But anyway, it had probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles of full light. So after the Advent today, I'm going to show you those lights. They were phenomenal. I mean, we really had the best time. We went to dinner first. We went to, where did we go? We went to Applebee's. And I have a seafood allergy, and we ordered for our appetizer. We ordered chips and artichoke dip, which you would think all that would be just fine with a seafood allergy. But all of a sudden I was starting to feel tingling in my tongue and in my lips. And so we asked the waiter, you know, this is something you have to be careful with when you have a seafood allergy. Do they use the same oil that they fry the chips in as they do their seafood? And he didn't think so, but he went back and asked, and they all said yes. So I knew that's where my allergy was coming from, so I stopped eating that, took Benadryl right away. I was good to go. I was a little sleepy for the lights, but those lights, if you have the opportunity to go out to Jacksonville to see those lights, those were phenomenal. I'll put it down below the address, because if you get a chance, and we went with some great friends. We really enjoyed that. What a great evening of fellowship, and we love that. So if you get an opportunity, you'll love it too. Go get in the car, take your friends. I think it was, I think she said $20. It was on Thursday night, so Monday through Thursday, normally they have, you know, less expensive price, and then on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I think it's a little more. Same thing with the International Speedway. We went out there, Daytona 500, they also are doing their lights, and Monday through Thursday, I believe it's 25, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was 30 or 35. So, but those were phenomenal as well. And right now, with not being able to get out, you stay in your car, so you're only with the people that are in the car with you. So you're definitely protected from COVID, and you pay online, so you don't even have to, you know, all you do is hold up it's a little barcode, and they scan that barcode just to say that, yes, you paid, and then go on in. So, and that was a phenomenal night of lights, and I really enjoy seeing those. So I hope that you enjoy after this Advent watching those lights. So anyway, let's talk about our Advent. So we're doing day 7, Day 8 and day 9. Day 7 is the present from Genesis 22. Day 8 is, let's see, the girl no one wanted, Genesis 29 through 30. And then day 9, the forgiving prince, Genesis 37 through 46. All right, so again, we're using the Jesus Storybook Bible. And the first one is the present, day 7, the story of Abraham and Isaac from Genesis 22. All right, are you enjoying this as much as I am? I hope that you are. All right, God knew that his secret rescue plan could only work if Abraham trusted him completely. God had to make sure Abraham would do whatever he asked. So a few years later, God asked Abraham to give him a present. Abraham liked giving presents to God. He gave God his animals, and they were called sacrifices, and they were a way to say, I love you to God. By this time, God didn't want a lamb or a goat. God wanted Abraham to give him something more, much more. He wanted Abraham to give him his son, his only son, the son he loved, Isaac. But this time, God didn't want a lamb or a goat. God wanted Abraham to give him something more, much more. He wanted Abraham to give him his son, his only son, the son he loved, Isaac. But put his boy on the altar and kill him as the sacrifice. How could God want him to do such a terrible thing? Abraham didn't understand, but he knew that God was his father who loved him. And so Abraham trusted him. Early the next morning, Abraham and Isaac set off. They climbed the steep, stony trail up the mountain. Isaac carried the wood on his back, and his father carried the knife and the coals. Could you imagine the pain that Abraham was feeling as he was taking this walk? Papa, Isaac said, we have everything except we forgot the lamb for the sacrifice. God will give up the lamb, son, Abraham said. They built an altar and laid the wood on top, and Abraham asked his son to climb on top of the wood. Isaac didn't understand, but he knew his father loved him, and so he trusted him. He climbed up onto the altar, and Abraham tied his boy to the wood. Isaac didn't struggle or try to run away. He just lay there quietly and didn't make a sound. Everything was ready. Abraham took the knife. Tears were filling up his eyes, and pain was filling up his heart. His hand was shaking, and he lifted the knife high into the air. Stop, God said. Don't hurt the boy. I want him to live and not die. I know now that you love me because you would have given me your only son. Abraham felt his heart leap with joy and unbound Isaac and folded him into his arms. Great sobs shook the old man's whole body. Scalding tears filled his eyes, and for a long time they stayed there like that, in each other's arms, and boy and his dad. Suddenly Abraham saw a ram caught in some brambles and the sacrifice. Yes, he would be the sacrifice. God had given them what they needed just in time. The ram would die so Isaac didn't have to, and so Abraham sacrificed the ram instead of his son. And as they sat there on the mountaintop, watching the embers of the fire die in the cold night air, the stars above them sparkling in the velvet sky, God helped Abraham and Isaac understand something. God wanted his people to live and not die, and God wanted to rescue his people and not punish them. But they must trust him. One day someone will be born into our family, and God promised them, and he will bring happiness to the whole world. God was getting ready to give the whole world a wonderful present. It would be God's way to tell his people how much I love you. Many years later, another son would climb another hill, carrying wood on his back. Like Isaac, he would trust his father and do what his father asked. He wouldn't struggle, and he wouldn't run away. Who was he? God's son, his only son, and the son he loved. The Lamb of God. All right, that was day 8. Now we're going on to day 9, the girl no one wanted. The story of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah from Genesis 29 through 30. There were once two sisters. The youngest sister was very beautiful and her name was Rachel. But the oldest sister wasn't beautiful at all. Some thought she was quite ugly, and her name was Leah. Rachel was the kind of girl who always gets invited to parties and chosen for the team. Everyone loved her and poor Leah. No one hardly even noticed her. One day their son Jacob came to stay. He was one of Isaac's sons and he was on the run. Jacob had stolen and cheated and made some enemies, including his own brother, and now he was hiding. The funny thing is Jacob of all people was the one God gave the special promise to, the same promise he had given his grandfather, Abraham. I will rescue the world through your family, but then God chose people we least expect, as we'll see. Jacob stayed a long time working for his uncle Laban. One day Laban said, Jacob, I've decided to pay you for your work. What do you want? A sudden thought struck him. How about one of my daughters? Jacob looked at Rachel and he looked at Leah. Who would he choose? Of course he chose Rachel. I'll work 7 years for free, Jacob said, if I can marry Rachel. So Jacob worked those 7 years. But that night, Laban played a nasty trick on Jacob. Instead of sending Rachel to marry Jacob, he sent Leah. Now in those days, they didn't have electricity, so it was dark in their tent. And besides, women wore veils and you couldn't see their faces properly. So Jacob suspected nothing. The next morning, Jacob woke up and screamed. His new wife was lying beside him, but it wasn't Rachel. It was Leah. Jacob jumped out of bed. Laban, he cried. You scoundrel! But Laban said, work for me another 7 years and then you can marry Rachel. So Jacob worked for Laban another 7 years, and at last Rachel became his wife. Now Jacob had 2 wives, but of his 2 wives, Jacob loved Rachel the best. Now, no one loves me, Leah said. I'm too ugly. But God didn't think she was ugly. And when he saw that Leah was not loved and that no one wanted her, God chose her to love her specially, to give her a very important job. One day God was going to rescue the whole world through Leah's family. Now when Leah knew that God loved her in her heart, suddenly it didn't matter anymore whether her husband loved her the best or if she was the prettiest. Someone had chosen her. Someone did love her with a never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. So when Leah had a baby boy, she named him Judah, which means, this time I will praise the Lord. And that's just what she did. And you'll never guess what job God gave Leah. You see, when God looked at Leah, he saw a princess. And sure enough, that's exactly what she became. One of Leah's children's children would be a prince, the Prince of Heaven, God's son. The prince would love God's people. They wouldn't need to be beautiful for him to love them. He would love them with all his heart, and they would be beautiful because he loved them like Leah. And then day number 9, the forgiving prince. Joseph and his brothers from Genesis 37 through 46. Jacob had 12 sons, but all his sons, Joseph was his favorite. One day, Jacob gave Joseph a splendid new robe. It was beautiful and rich with all the colors of the rainbow, but it made Joseph's brothers very jealous. They wanted rich rainbows too. Then to make matters worse, Joseph kept on having these special dreams. I dreamed I was the greatest. I was king, Joseph told his brothers, and you all bowed down to me. Now I'm sure you know, even if Joseph didn't, that telling your brothers things like that isn't a very good idea. Joseph's brothers hated him even more. They wanted to kill him, Joseph and his dreams. And one day, that's exactly what they tried to do. They tore Joseph's rainbow robe off him and sold him to slave traders for only 20 pieces of silver. The traders took Joseph to Egypt and made him into a slave. And the brothers went home and lied to their father, telling him that Joseph was dead. That's the end of that dreamer, they thought, but they were wrong. God had a magnificent dream for Joseph's life, and even when it looked like everything had gone wrong, God would use it all to help make the dream come true. God would use everything that was happening to Joseph to do something good. Meanwhile, though things were not looking good for Joseph in Egypt, he was far from home and far from his dad. Then he had got blamed for something he didn't do, and even though he had done nothing wrong, he was punished and thrown into jail. But God had not left Joseph. One night, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had a scary dream about thin cows gobbling up fat cows. He didn't know, but Joseph was a dream expert, so Pharaoh sent for him. It means a famine is coming, Joseph explained. There will not be enough food. Pharaoh was so pleased by Joseph's skill that he immediately took Joseph out of jail and made him a prince. Now back home, Joseph's brothers had run out of food and everyone was hungry. God's special family was in danger. If they didn't get food soon, they would starve to death. So Joseph's brothers traveled to Egypt to buy food. They came and knelt before the new prince. His brothers didn't know the prince was Joseph, but Joseph knew who they were. Joseph's dreams, the one about his brothers bowing down to him, was coming true. "It's me," Joseph cried. When they saw it was Joseph, his brothers were afraid. They had wronged Joseph. They had sinned, and they knew it. Now Joseph would certainly punish them. But Joseph looked at his brothers, and his eyes filled with tears. Even though his brothers had hurt him and hated him and wanted him dead, in spite of everything, he couldn't stop loving them. His heart, which had they broken, filled up with love, and Joseph forgave them. Joseph threw his arms around them. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Behind what you were doing, underneath everything that was happening, God was doing something good. God was making everything right again. Joseph didn't punish them. He rescued them, and he brought God's special family to live safely with him in Egypt. One day, God would send another prince, a young prince whose heart would break, like Joseph. He would leave his home and his father. His brothers would hate him and want him dead. He would be sold for pieces of silver, and he would be punished even though he had done nothing wrong. But God would use everything that happened to this young prince, even the bad things, to do something good, to forgive the sins of the world." There you go. All right, so that was day 7, 8, and 9. And I want you to hang these with me. So we have the lamb, the present. And then, let's see, number 8, the girl no one wanted. Oh, let me turn this over just a little bit. The girl no one wanted. Put this right here. And then day 9, the forgiving prince. All right, I hope that you enjoyed our Advent for today. Tomorrow, let's see, today is day 11. So we are going to do tomorrow day 10, 11, and 12, and then we should be caught up. And then I should only be doing one a day. So that will be so much easier and shorter for you to listen to if that you are listening, but it is something wonderful that you can share with your family and hang the Advent with me. So thanks so much for joining me. If you like this, make sure that you subscribe down below so that you're able to hear all the Advent from day 1 through day 24. All right, I hope that you have a blessed day, and thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk to you soon.